You are listening to the South America Brief. I'm Camila Perez, your virtual information influencer, guiding you through market data trends and stories from the vibrant economies of Latin and South America. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the South America Brief. I am Camila Perez, Market Intelligence Specialist for Latin America at InfoBroker and InfoBroker World. Today we focus on a strategic shift that is unfolding more quietly than many headlines suggest, yet carries significant geopolitical and economic weight. We are looking at Japan's strategic comeback in South America and why this partnership is gaining renewed importance across the region. A new pragmatism is shaping South America's trade policy. Over the past 2 decades, one actor has clearly dominated the continent's economic relationship with Asia, China. Beijing's appetite for raw materials has deeply integrated South America into global supply chains and generated enormous trade volumes. However, from Santiago de Chile to Brasilia, policymakers and business leaders are increasingly turning their attention to Tokyo. For many governments, Japan represents far more than an additional export destination. It is viewed as a key partner for diversification, a source of high-quality foreign direct investment, and a strategic counterweight to growing dependence on China. When Asian trade is discussed in boardrooms and ministries today, China is usually mentioned first. Yet behind the highly visible infrastructure projects and large-scale deals, a more subtle strategic realignment is taking place. South American countries are rediscovering Japan as a reliable premium partner. The focus is no longer limited to soybeans, copper, or iron ore. The real objective is integration into global high-tech value chains, protection of domestic industrial capacity, and mitigation of geopolitical risk. Trade data reflects a classic complementary structure. South America exports raw materials and agricultural goods, while Japan supplies industrial products, machinery, and vehicles. Even though Japan plays a smaller role in volume compared to China, the United States, or the European Union, the absolute figures remain substantial. Chile exported goods worth $8.49 billion to Japan in 2024. The largest share consisted of ores and slag, mainly copper valued at $6.19 billion. Fisheries and aquaculture products, especially salmon, accounted for $1.15 billion. Brazil recorded exports to Japan worth $5.51 billion in 2025. Meat and edible offal led the list at $1.23 billion, followed by coffee, tea, and spices at $1.03 billion, and iron ore at $984 million. Peru exported $3.38 billion to Japan in 2024, making Japan its 5th most important export destination. Metallic minerals and fossil fuels dominated the export structure. In the opposite direction, South America represents an important market for Japanese capital-intensive industrial goods. Japan exported goods worth $1.66 billion to Chile in 2025, nearly half of which consisted of vehicles. Machinery and equipment accounted for a significant additional share. The trade pattern is clearly complementary: raw materials in exchange for technology. To understand the deeper strategic dimension, however, we must address the elephant in the room: South America's strong dependence on China. Trade between Latin America and China increased more than 20-fold between 2000 and 2020. Projections suggest that this volume could reach $700 billion by 2035. China is today the dominant buyer of South American soybeans, copper, and iron ore. This relationship, while lucrative, carries structural risks. There is growing concern across the region about export concentration and gradual deindustrialization. While China imports massive quantities of raw materials, it exports low-cost industrial goods to South American markets. local producers struggle to compete. Countries such as Mexico, Colombia, and Paraguay are experiencing significant trade deficits with China. Chinese foreign direct investment has also been heavily concentrated in primary sectors. More than 65% of Chinese investment in the region has flowed into energy and mining. Many South American economists therefore see Japan as a qualitative alternative. Japanese investment tends to be more diversified and more focused on long-term partnerships rather than pure resource extraction. Historically, Japan has been the largest Asian investor in Latin America. Unlike investment patterns driven primarily by raw materials, Japanese capital is distributed across manufacturing, services, and primary industries. Japanese corporations such as Mitsui, Mitsubishi, and Marubeni integrate local partners into global value chains. They build automotive and electronics facilities, invest in renewable energy projects, and finance infrastructure such as desalination plants and power generation near major mining sites. This creates technological spillover effects and skilled employment, precisely the type of development South America requires to move beyond the raw material trap. Institutionally, Japan also follows a different approach. While China often operates through bilateral loans and large infrastructure initiatives, Japan emphasizes formal economic partnership agreements. Chile and Peru have concluded comprehensive economic partnership agreements with Japan, securing tariff advantages while also regulating investment protection and services. Particular attention is currently focused on a potential free trade agreement between Japan and Mercosur, which includes Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. In business circles, such an agreement is often described as one of the last major free trade projects. South American agricultural exporters are seeking improved access to Japan's traditionally protected food market. Japan, on the other hand, could strengthen its competitive position in the Mercosur region relative to European and Chinese players. Brazil, in particular, views Japan as an opportunity to diversify soy and meat exports and reduce dependence on China. Recent market openings for Brazilian poultry, pork, and beef fat products demonstrate tangible progress. The future dynamics of this trans-Pacific relationship are driven by two global megatrends. The first is the energy transition. Japan, home to major automotive and battery manufacturers, needs secure supply chains for electric mobility. South America holds vast reserves of copper in Chile and Peru, as well as lithium in the so-called lithium triangle of Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. To reduce dependency on China in critical minerals, Japan is building strategic partnerships with these mining nations. The second megatrend is global food security. Japan depends heavily on food imports. Stable agricultural supplies from South America have become strategically important for Tokyo. For South American countries, these exports generate essential foreign currency revenues and strengthen their position in global agricultural markets. From a South American perspective, Japan is therefore far more than a third or fourth largest trading partner. It acts as a qualitative anchor investor. While trade with China generates volume and fiscal revenue, rule-based and technology-oriented cooperation with Japan supports structural modernization and higher value creation within domestic economies. Perhaps the strategic formula for South America's future can be summarized as follows. With China, the region generates volume. With Japan, it strengthens the structure of its own economy. In this balance lies an opportunity for sustainable development and greater economic sovereignty. Thank you for listening. For further data and in-depth reports, visit InfoBroker World. I look forward to welcoming you to the next edition of the South America Brief. For more details, links, and further insights, check out the show notes. By the way, I am 100% AI generated. My voice was created with 11 Labs, and I'm here to bring you curated knowledge with a human touch. This podcast is powered by InfoBroker World, your partner for market intelligence and custom research on Latin America. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious. Hasta luego.